Good afternoon and welcome to Radio Row at Super Bowl 57. I'm Kayla Brad. I'm here with Roy Castle Sports Philanthropy. Excited to be here with Rashad Jennings. Welcome, Rashad.
All
Uh,
right, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be on this thing.
I love it. I love your energy. Let's talk about, first of all, your Radio Row experience this year. You're out here promoting some good work that you're doing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm excited about talking about is a form that I'm creating, and it's called "After I Do." What happens with men after they say "I do"? Marriage is one of the most important institutions, and it's not discussed enough on the mainstream airways. Matter of fact, airways. Period. My little nephews and they range between 9 and 22. They always are asking, who's the best athlete? Who's the best basketball player of all time? Who's the best running back? Who's the best quarterback? Where can I go? How do I do this? Who's the best musician? Da 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 da. And there's always a flood of information and opinions of people talking about other people in this way. If a young man has a desire to continue to grow in his marriage, where do they go? There's no form, so I'm starting it, and it's called After I Do. What happens? How do you handle in-law situation? How do you handle the situation of where do you spend time for Christmas or Thanksgiving? How do you split it up, or how do you raise your kid? Do they eat beef or not? School, private school. Does politics actually make a difference in your marriage? Like these things are questions that a lot of people would love to hear. Each marriage is individual, right? So are all of our life choices. However, there is something that we can learn from one another, and I'm proud to spearhead this conversation. And I respect the institution of marriage so much, in this forum so much, that I didn't want to start it until at least engaged. Before I engaged with this conversation, I wanted to start it at 25 years old. But I said, you know what? I'm not married. I'm not engaged. So nobody's going to take me honestly seriously. And the optics of it doesn't look well. I went to school to study psychology and sociology, honorary doctorate degree in humanities. And the desire is to be a premarital marital counselor in the latter years of my life, not now. I have to get some wisdom under my belt. So I'm starting this form. I'll be the youngest on it inside of the institution. And so we will be discussing with other men that's been married for 30 plus years, 15 years, kids, divorce, a bunch of different perspectives on what happens, man. And men need to talk to men because their eyeballs work before they got married, and I'm sure they still work after they get married. So how do you really handle these situations? Let's talk about it.
I think
So,
it's
I
really
go
important.
ahead,
You
Roy.
talked about the challenges, right? I think people have this fairy tale notion of once they get married, everything's going to be easy, everything's going to be smooth, and life goes on, right? Challenges come up. Everybody goes through different challenges over the course of their life, and when you're with a partner in a marriage, as you said, you've got two sets of issues you're dealing with. In a sense, you're dealing with the actual issue that's outside of the marriage, and then you're also dealing with how you and your partner are able to navigate those challenges and navigate the conversation about those. Because I'll just use any couple, right? Husband and wife have been raised in different environments, and they're going to have been in different families that have a different dynamic of how they deal with that interaction, with that stress, with that potential conflicts. Kayla, I know both you and I have been through that with other with prior relationships, and seen it's not always easy to just resolve that.
And to that too, I challenge and I encourage people to please go to RashadJennings.com. There's a form. You'll see one of the things that pop up that says "After I Do." Fill out that information so you can be pinged for the very first episode. And please, if you're listening and you're like, you know what, this little knucklehead kid really on to something. What he's saying resonates with some truth. That this is an important conversation. Please support. If you I'm here for suggestions as well. You can email me at AID, which is the acronym for After I Do. AID at RashadJennings.com to help support this. I definitely believe this conversation is something that is needed.
Yeah, I think that you talk about after I do, and it's typically a lengthy process, right? I think everybody goes into a marriage hoping or expecting that that's going to be the rest of their life. And unfortunately, we know the statistics don't bear that out, right? It's over half of the marriages that end up in divorce. But when you look at those tools, talk a little bit about some of what guidance you give there, and how you're able to teach people to deal with those types of issues. Kayla?
Well, I just want to say, Rashad, I'm raising 5 sons, right? And I'm a single mom. And I can't pretend to be a dad and a mom. I'm a mom, right? So without great mentors and a great forum and a place to be vulnerable and transparent, my sons aren't set up for success, right? Like my husband and I had 8 children together before we became separated, right? So what do my boys have for that opportunity? Because they're being raised with a commitment to marriage, but they haven't experienced that, right? So I think what you're doing, and I guess I just want to ask you, like, after I do, but also getting prepared for that I do as well, right? I know you have great faith. I know that you're a strong leader. Can we talk just a minute about mentorship?
Yeah, mentorship is huge. I would say I was fortunate enough to have some family members believe in me before I knew who I was. I had a chance to catch up with my maturity, and they protected me in a lot of different ways. I didn't always like it at the time. We always want what we want. However, that typically isn't always good. And so I'm fortunate to have family members, kind of whip me in shape. Now, I say this, not everybody's fortunate enough to have the type of brothers I had,
Right.
and the type of mom, in combination of the father I had. And it's a lot of ugly stories. However, I just decided to share the beautiful ones and what I've learned. And I feel an awesome responsibility to be that light for other young boys that don't have that.
Right.
Have the uncle. Not everybody has me as an uncle
Yep.
that have these hard conversations on a daily. And so just to even smidge it a little bit, just a little sprinkle, a dot in a wave of ocean of a lot of nonsense is going on. I sincerely want to be somebody that's known as, that cat. No matter what angle he's coming from, maybe he doesn't have the same belief system as I do. However, I can respect his humility and his approach towards what he's trying to accomplish. And that's a I think that's a lesson that a lot of people would want their kids to have, and not only their kids. I would want some adults to have too. Apparently, you need that just as much. So
But
it's
That's
not
right.
about who's right or who's wrong. It's about what's better and what's helping. And this conversation again, it hit me like asking me, watch this. And this is the Super Bowl. This is a beautiful time to celebrate and talk about sports. And I mean, my gosh, we got the best of the best athletes about to compete. I can't wait to talk about it for sure.
That's
But
right.
however, the consistent conversation is about, hey, this athlete's getting paid X amount of money. Is that good or bad? How is that helping anybody in life?
That's right. That's
Really.
right.
Hey, who is Tom Brady the best quarterback of all time? How's that helping anybody of life? Matter of fact, nobody really actually has talked about one of the things that happened with Tom Brady.
right,
Why?
The,
when you look at what's gone
the
on
divorce?
with
Because
his
marriage
marriage.
is so important. Maybe if this, you know what I mean? Like, let's stop hiding from this. Hello.
That's right. That's right. I mean,
Well,
I'm just
What are
going
we
to say
doing?
preach, because this is something that has been a conversation in our house, and it should be a conversation in other houses, right? Like you're talking about a dad with 2 sons. We should be talking about that with our kids. So I guess my burning question for you, Rashad, something happened in your life where you received an epiphany that you were going to dedicate your life to this forum. I'm really curious, like, what was that moment where you said, I've got to do something?
I've done a lot. I've done a lot of band-aid work in my time, and I still do. I think cuts need to be healed, and that's band-aid work, right? And I've noticed a lot of communities, and I go to a ton of communities to speak, and most broken communities typically have broken marriages. most healthy communities have healthy marriages. Now, don't get me wrong. There are anomalies everywhere, and I don't use extremes to explain the norm. That's why I don't use LeBron James as an example of athletes. He's an
Right.
anomaly. Hello, there's I'm a normal athlete. So I'm not a gold jacket wearing guy. I'm a normal guy. I'm your next door neighbor type of dude that works really hard.
But
Um,
I think you hit on a key point there, right? You're talking about working really hard and working through it. And it's something that is interesting because when you're on a team, right, in a football team, you know there's going to be challenges, right? There's going to be conflict
Absolutely,
on the team and conflict between players and coaches, players and players, people fighting for positions. You're used to that type of conflict. And
of
then
course.
people want to go home to their marriage. They want that to be a place of refuge, right? Where everything is comfortable and they feel supported. But it's not perfect, right? Just like anything else in the world, right? You've got to learn how to manage that conflict in that relationship.
Absolutely, and you'll be able to at this forum after I do, you'll be able to hear a bunch of men coming together having these conversations, right? And you will see, the idea really is for people to sit down, couples to sit down too, especially single, married, whatever, and listen to the forum and really learn something.
I love it, Rashad. I want to say thank you for being vulnerable, being transparent, being authentic, and using your platform to make a real, tangible difference that can be measured, right? That's a commitment on a whole nother level. So, from the girl in Milwaukee with one of the highest single mom rates in the country. Thank you, folks. I'm Kayla Brad. I'm here with Roy Kessel from Sports Philanthropy Network, joined by Rashad Jennings, who I have so much respect for. Can't thank you enough for joining us. Rashad, thank you for stopping in on Super Bowl 57's Radio Row to join Sports Philanthropy Network.
My
Thank
honor.
you.